This week we are changing it up on Sora TV. I am so excited to be sharing with you an interview I held live inside the Sacred Business Collective. Our guest was the one and only Julie Parker. If you're a coach, a healer, or entrepreneur who also feels genuinely called to the priestess path, you don't want to miss this episode. Julie speaks candidly about how being a priestess helps create a graceful, thriving business. Now, before I continue, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell. That way you won't miss another video that will help you launch and scale your business as a wildly successful coach, healer, and that's right, an entrepreneur. Hey there, I am Surya now. I've worked with hundreds of incredible coaches and healers all over the world to achieve wildly expansive and unimaginable goals. And I'm here to remind you that you are successful. You are wildly successful. So how do you achieve incredible success? By having smart, heart-led, sovereign sisters who counsel you and support you on your vision. You can't work on your business alone. Having spirited sister entrepreneurs help you stay true to yourself and motivated to continue on your path. And this is what Julie Parker does for me. Okay, it's time to watch and listen in on our conversation. We will be speaking about vision, sacred leadership, sovereignty, and alignment, as well as success. Hello, everyone. So today we have Julie Parker as a guest here. It's so lovely to have you.
Oh, it's so nice to be here with you, Sora. Hello, everyone.
Yay. I know that it is quite beautiful there right now. I see the sun shining and it's morning time for you.
It is. It's summer here at the moment, and so the sun is shining. Although, mind you, we've had quite a lot of rain over the last few days, which is great. We really need that rain right now. So, but yeah, today is beautiful.
Absolutely. So my intention for today is that we talk about all things priestessing while also being an entrepreneur. How priestessing actually can help really ground as well as expand you into the depths of how you are here to serve. And so I thought we'd go on a little bit of a journey with that as an inquiry, as well as answer some of the questions that we have from our fellow members, and then open it up to some questions at the end as well. Sounds good?
Sounds great.
Excellent. Okay. Could you share a little bit around how you navigated business prior to the journey of a priestess and how you notice it feels, looks different now that you are on the path of a priestess?
I think the most significant thing for me, Sora, that stepping consciously onto a path as a priestess has brought to me and my business is a greater level of awareness. Because the truth is, and I know that this is the case for you as well, even though I don't think we've never actually spoken about this. So I'm having a guess, but I know you well enough, sister, to know that I'm sure that this is the case. Now that I actually look back on my life and my business, BP, like before priestess, I can
hashtag BP.
BP, before priestess path, BPP. I can actually see that the elements of sacredness, connection, soul were always there. I have always been a priestess.
Yes.
You have always been a priestess, as have so many other women in our lineages before us. The conscious awareness of that was not with us until more recently, as it hasn't been for so many other women. And so really the biggest thing that has brought me is an awareness and a connection and a deep, deep understanding of, oh, that's why I do business in that way.
Right.
Which seems to be so different to everybody else. That's why I made those choices led by my intuition instead of being led by profit or something else in that way. Now I have a deeper understanding of myself and how it shows up. And so what this path and becoming and embodying life as a priestess has meant for my business is an increased level of awareness around the sacredness of what that is in the world, and therefore my own sacredness as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true regarding even how we navigated business prior to stepping into this place of remembering that we are a priestess to where we are now. And I'm curious about what you said though, which was you were led by your intuition and made choices that others may not have. Could you pinpoint maybe 2 examples of that you can share so that others can be like, oh wow, okay, I get it.
Yeah, well, one of the most significant things is, I think, that just simply starting the Beautiful You Coaching Academy as a life coach training school, there were more than one person, let me tell you, that said, it's not going to fly. Love you, respect you, like you, all those sorts of things. That is not going to fly. You're a woman. There are no women-led life coach training schools in the world. There weren't any at that time. You're super feminine.
You love
pink, all the things like the branding and all that sort of stuff. No one's going to take it seriously. Sure, you might attract like a really niche little market, sort of thing. But really not going to go. People still want the hard, fast, masculine, black and white, maybe a touch of navy sort of training where you're going to tell them that they're going to earn 6 figures in a month, et cetera, et cetera. If you can't deliver that to people, this is not going to work. And just my gut, my heart, my soul, my intuition, my inner GPS, all of it just said to me, that's wrong. This is needed. You can do this. Follow what your calling is here and just see how it goes. And so that's exactly what I did. And on that way, with the second example, if I can bring it in there, Sora, is that
yes.
I surrendered in that process. So I didn't attach myself very, very hard to any outcomes that may bring me. I was guided by spirit to leave it open, to flow with it, to surrender with it, and to be incredibly grateful for any of the people that might have stepped forward, even if it was only a small amount, and then serve them deeply.
Yes.
And then see what happens. I didn't have targets. I've never had a business plan. None of those things. None of those things, it's just like, go with your intuition here and see what happens. And she served me right.
It's beautiful. I often hear, I listen to a lot of podcasts around entrepreneurship, and I hear a lot of people who are entrepreneurs that say, you have a great business if everyone tells you it's not going to work.
Yeah, well, look, I think that there could be enormous merit in that. Like we sit back and think here, that someone somewhere along the line invented those little plastic, those little paper umbrellas.
Umbrellas? Yeah, just everything. Yes.
That go in your thing. And, the person that invented the hot water bottle, I mean, bless them.
Oh, you mean like this one that I have with me? Oh, bless how did them. You know?
I know, bless them 1,000 times over. Can you just imagine how many people must have said to them, that is not funny. Like, that is a bad idea.
Yes.
Can you imagine the number of people that would have said to them, what if it splits and breaks? You're going to have people with 3rd-degree burns, hot water, all that sort of stuff. You're going to get sued. This is too risky, this is a disaster. I can't even begin to imagine how many people must have been in their grill about that. And still they went ahead. And here they are all these years later.
And so I want to address that because there's so many listening or watching right now who are considering that part, right? Which is I have people either verbally in my face telling me I can't do this, or it's not a good idea, or possibly maybe you should consider now going back to work because, and you also then start hearing it inside your own mind, right? But you said that intuition, the great mother, led you to this path. So what kept you going?
Well, giving up what other people think about me and was a huge part of it. Understanding that opinions are free, but hard work is only something that you can engage in. Following your own spirit and source is something that takes commitment and consistency. She's only going to come to you regularly and well if you develop a relationship with her.
Yes.
If we ignore our intuition and our inner guide all the time, then she will soften, she will quiet, she will distance herself from us, and we can then receive mixed messages, and that's where our ego gets louder. And so, it's something that you have to be single-minded, really. I think some people might disagree with this, but I think that there is an element of single-mindedness that you have to have about your devotion to yourself.
I agree.
Knowing that if you truly, truly tap in, you will never lead yourself astray. Never. Because even when I've been guided down a particular path that didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, and there have absolutely been those times, the lessons that I have learned from that have been worth their weight in gold. Like, I have invested money and put time and effort and energy into things in my business really that went not well.
Yeah.
And one in particular that I can think of, the big lesson with that for me in learning to do that was that I tried to get out of my lane.
Right.
I steered off thinking that I needed to be doing other things, and instead of just focusing and concentrating on the one thing that I knew that I was really, really good at that particular time. And so it didn't work, lost money and time and effort and energy, but the learning that it gave me, I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And that is, stay in your lane, do what you're good at, leave everything else and just focus on the core there. And I mean, what a great lesson to learn. And I'll never, ever make that mistake again.
Absolutely. And I think there's a difference between, you can be multi-passionate and multi-dimensional, but if you spread yourself way too thin by thinking you have to do all of the things, then you're not actually staying in a lane of devotion. You are splitting your energy into different places. So you can still cultivate that within you, but you don't have to cultivate all of it in your business. Like, if you love yoga, you don't have to be a yoga teacher in addition to being, let's say, X, Y, and Z. If you're an artist, you don't have to do art and do several other things. And so therefore, I do think the staying in the lane and not going through the shiny object syndrome is a really valuable lesson that I find entrepreneurs have to learn just by doing and being with their business.
Absolutely. And that, that concept of that reality of doing and being with your business is so important. And this is not to say that you can't test things, try things,
right?
Not at all. And it's not to say that you can't be multi-passionate. I mean, hello, coach, life coach, trainer, priestess, retreat leader, podcast host,
exactly.
all the things. But I think that what you're saying there, Sora, is incredibly important. So, for example, that I have a deep, deep passion for flowers.
Yes.
Right? It's part of my connection and my relationship. And I'm currently studying a flower essence practitioner course. No, I will never teach anything in relation to it. It's for me.
Yes,
that's
the distinction people aren't getting.
Yeah, it's for me to bring forth a deeper connection to myself through the element of nature and the great mother that I love the best. Now, I may do certain things in my sacred circles or my work that bring elements of that in, but I will never teach it. I'm also going to learn a lot more this year about sacred dance. And I'm going to do some classes around that for me, which I know is going to help me be more embodied in who I am as a woman, and then in my business as well. But I'll never teach it. It's all connected to what I do.
And you'll infuse it in your experiences that you hold for your community, but it's not a new business idea.
No.
Yes, you're very good about that. The other thing I'd love for us to address is around this idea of being in our flow and being in our grace with our business, listening to our intuition, and thinking that that means you don't actually take any action, or that you're not organized, or that you don't, that you don't have to work, or that there's hard work. Like, hard work isn't a negative thing. Hard work could feel really damn good at the end of the day. So can you just address that? Because you and we love work.
Yeah, we do. You know, like, hard work in your business is like a good sweat or puff at the gym or on the dance floor or when you're running or hiking. I believe that if you don't actually do that for yourself every now and again, you atrophy, you know, just like your body atrophies. And so I completely agree with you. And this is one of the things that I think many people, when they start talking about the feminine aspect of ourselves, and we all, of course, have a feminine and masculine and a whole range and scale within that, that when the feminine elements get spoken about of surrender, flow, etc., there is no question whatsoever, and Sora, you and I have had conversations about this more than once, that when you tip into that too much and you become less consciously in action and more waiting for things to come to you, if you take it too far, you just stall.
Yes.
Nothing happens, and then you can sort of get a bit blamey for that. You have to find the balance. Like, I have already given an example here of how I'm completely committed to surrender, flow, following my intuition, not pushing too hard, which is different to hard work.
Yes.
But also marrying that with organization, doing things in a timely way, and being in action that allows that flow to feel exactly that, like flow. Because you can work hard and you can work consistently in a way that is flowing.
Yes.
You know, the flow is not about doing nothing. It can sound like it is, but it's not at all. And so finding the balance between those two things, oh gosh, it is incredibly key. Very, very key.
I agree. One of the things that I've noticed about being on the priestess path is that it helps me on this level of devotion that I've never felt before as I continue to deepen. And because of that, the level of devotion of how I serve, it fills me rather than depletes me. And so therefore I can be of greater service because it's really clean. It's not about, do they like me? Is this enough? Any of that stuff. And that's what's been really great as an entrepreneur and being a priestess. Can you share a little bit about how devotion as a priestess can serve entrepreneurial communities in profound ways that people might not have even considered?
Well, I think the example that you've just given there, if I can expand on that, Sora, because I think it's so absolutely beautiful and perfect in relation to that, because as business owners and entrepreneurs, one of the things that stops us from being in the deepest level of service that we can be to our clients and customers is when our own ego, our own shadow, and our own stuff gets in the way of that.
Yeah.
And we become consumed either all the time, hopefully not, or at different times around those things that you were mentioning. Things such as, do they like me? Am I doing this good enough? Am I good enough? She's better than me. all of those sorts of things, which then results in actions like overgiving, people pleasing, hiding, pushing too hard, being grabby about sales and invitations, desperateness, all the things. And so the deep, deep soul work of being called to one's own devotion as a priestess is an elixir.
Yes. Tell us more.
It is an elixir to all of that. Because firstly and foremostly, the path of the priestess is not something that can be seen on the outside to other people. It is something that you commit to firstly and foremostly in your inner world and going in. It is where you recognize that you have things to heal, to shift, to love, to move, to illuminate. And when you do that work, that is when your devotion starts to emanate from you. And as a business owner, you can be in deeper service. Because when you do this work and you commit to this path, those sorts of things such as, am I good enough? Am I failing here? Or I've got to do this, or there's all that twisty stuff that comes to us begins to dissolve.
It's true.
It's true. It begins to dissolve because you're doing the inner work, and what you're stepping onto in so many different ways, to me, is a loving path of sovereignty, which leads to sacred leadership, which leads to deeper service, which leads to a more extraordinary, abundant, successful business. That's how this works. Now, I'm not saying for one moment that path is easy. It's not. How many times you and I cry, girlfriend? Like, about ourselves, about this, about that. It's like, oh man, I'm moving through some stuff, all the time. But that work is
it's liberating.
Oh, so freeing. It is so freeing, and you do it for yourself, and you do it, you can do it in community, and that's of course what we love to do.
Yes.
Sisters doing this together. But you do it for you. And the results, though, of you doing it for you impact and touch the lives of every single person that you come in contact with in your business, your families, your communities. It's that's the work, that's the devotion, and the positive impact that it can have on a business, for a businesswoman. It's infinite.
Yeah.
Infinite.
And I think that's the part that if I could say over and over again for my community, which is when you're doing that interpersonal work, you don't necessarily have to hibernate and hide. There are those moments. So you're not supposed to do that for like years, right? You can't be in the dark night of the soul for years if you're also an entrepreneur. So you weave in the inner workings, and on the Priestess Path, you find the tools and the rhythm of yourself, the cycles, so you understand and address when it's happening. And then it gives you the space to be of deeper service because you're cleaning and excavating yourself out. And so you are sweet nectar. You become so attractive, not just your outside beauty, but there's an energy that gets exuded outward that people can't but desire more of. And so you build this following or dear sisterhood or communities of people because you are now more sovereign with yourself. And then you have the capacity for more. And when you do it amongst other sisters, it is enlightening and illuminating and freeing because they can address the blind spots that you don't see. And so you move through things in a quicker way. It's why we're constantly communicating, you and I, because I don't see something and you can show it to me and vice versa. And that's what I love about sisterhood.
Oh, yes. I mean, all the things there for absolute certain. This is not a path to be walked alone. In all my research, and Sora, that I geek out, like majorly on the world of the ancient priestess, because I knew my history degree at university years ago would come in handy one day, and it has. I just absolutely love geeking out on that entire world. And the fact of the matter is that there were only very, very few ancient priestesses that led a solo life that we are aware of. The overwhelming majority of them, and how's this for a parallel between the ancient world of the priestess and the modern world of the priestess businesswoman? The overwhelming majority of them were part of collectives and communities.
Aha.
They did not fly solo because their role as an ancient priestess was to serve as messengers of the goddess, the gods, higher beings, and to ignite divinity and the sacred path of leadership within other people if they were called to it. They had to be around other people, particularly other women, to do that work. That was their calling. And I would be pretty certain to say that the overwhelming majority, if not all the women in your sacred business collective, are in deep service to a particular cohort or community of people, or desiring to be on this path.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you don't do this alone. You don't serve alone, and you don't walk this path alone. You can if you want to, but it'll be harder and darker. And having the loving support of other priestess sisters and women around you as you go through this journey is in and of itself priceless. Absolutely priceless, because you will be able to move through your own stuff so much quicker and with more grace and ease when you are lovingly witnessed by others as you do so, where you feel safe and held as you do so, and where you can see into the soul of others and see your own beauty and your own work reflected back to you as you do so.
Yes.
Priceless.
It is. And it's that reflecting back, right? Whether it's because a sister has shared some reflections directly to you, or you see this incredible, extraordinary person in front of you doing these wildly amazing things, and you realize, oh, actually, that's also in me. So we can do this together. And I find that in the previous Mistress Mind, so Julie and I hold a space called the Priestess Mistress Mind for those, and majority of them were actually entrepreneurs. And our focus was on the internal journey of a priestess, but it naturally then helped them get very much more aligned with where they were heading, even in their business. And I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about what you're excited about when it comes to the Mistress Mind that starts very soon in February.
Oh my gosh, what's not to be excited? It's like I am just in love and enamored with all of the women who are joining us in this experience from all over the world. Having been through this with you, Sora, and the most incredible group of women already, I just know that this 6-month journey of inner work, inner beauty, and outer radiance to the world through their businesses, their careers, their lives, is just going to be absolutely extraordinary. You know, I'm excited for the meltdowns.
Yes, I agree. We do love good meltdowns, don't we? Because that's when some good stuff happens.
That's right. That's where the rubber hits the road, my friend.
We love it. We are great space holders in it, I have to say.
Yeah. That is when, you know, someone is like, oh, wow, like I had no idea that this was so significant for me, and it's holding me back so much, and that I need help with this. And this is just, oh, geez, you know, all that sort of stuff. I'm excited for it, because you and I both know that when someone reaches that particular point where they're like, okay, I am ready to deal with this now.
Yes.
I am ready to let this go. I am ready to step beyond this. I am ready to take down the veil. I am ready to step into a enhanced, extraordinary version of myself. That doesn't come without some pain and wobbles and difficulties first. And so when those pain and wobbles and difficulties arise, you and I both know that someone is then on the threshold of anything that is possible for themselves. And so bring it. I'm excited for that.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's the thing about a threshold, which I think in a lot of spiritual conversations, people throw that word around a lot. But here's the thing, whether it's in business or in personal spiritual development, when you're hitting the threshold, majority of people don't cross it.
That's right.
Because it's so hard, or it feels overwhelming, or you create stories that keep you from actually stepping forward and through it. And on the other side is the liberation. And so a threshold could be sexy, but it's not until you actually cross it. And the way you cross it is when you have others who can support you through that, who are on the sides of it, rooting you on and cheering you on and crying with you and saying, yes, you can do this, right? So it's not just being on the threshold, it's crossing it. And how do you cross it?
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what, Sora? This, if I can just share something, this to me, and this is learning that is just coming to me all the time in downloads, and you and I have only started to talk about this in more depth really recently. I think this is the difference between a businesswoman and a sacred businesswoman.
Yes.
That may or may not identify as a priestess, but at least in some concept is a sacred businesswoman. It is the businesswoman who has intentionally worked on herself, so that she may turn up for the people that she's serving as clean and clear and as sovereign as she possibly can be. This is also the difference. There are direct parallels here between leaders and sacred leaders. Right? There are leaders and they're getting stuff done and other people are doing stuff for them and they've got a collective mission and all of those sorts of things. But then there is the sacred leader. And the sacred leader is the one that has done the work on themselves, is genuinely thinking about the impact that they have on other people around them, is genuinely thinking even further than that around the impact of what their life and their leadership has for their community, their planet, their spirituality, the rising collectiveness of spirit and divinity in the world, the whole thing. That's the difference here.
And they expect and require that those that are around them within their business are also doing that because they are modeling it themselves.
That is right. And that is when, once that begins to happen, your power as a space holder, whether it be as a coach, a kinesiologist, a guide, a consultant, a healer, whatever it may be, lifts into the stratosphere.
Yes.
Because you will take nothing less than someone's fullness, because you can hold it because you've got you.
Yep.
Because as long as you've got you, you can handle anything that a client or anybody else brings to you or might need from you in some way.
It's true.
It shifts everything.
It really does. Okay, so we just gave you a whole slew of information right now to consider and bite on and percolate and just feel into the juiciness. We're going to share a little bit about the Priestess Mistress Mind in case you're interested in learning more. And as we do, if you want to write down and in the chat box any questions you have for Julie around sacred leadership, sacred business, priestessing your path, anything else, please start writing it in the chat so we can respond. But as they do so, if someone wanted to know more about the Priestess Mistress Mind, because it is a darn juicy experience, where may they go?
Yeah, you'll find all the information with us about that, Sora, at priestesstempleschool.com. We start next month, and enrollments close at the end of January. So that's not very far away. It's like a week now that it closes. It's 6 months. You have yourself and I
I
as
mean,
the
what more
temple.
fun will that be? Like, you have to say yes.
Yeah, we are enormous fun. We are also enormously,
Yep.
what's the word?
I want to know what word you
reverent when one needs to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that I'm constantly exploring within myself is the fact that sometimes I think the path of spirituality, the way that it is presented to us, it can be so serious, like almost to the point where it's dour.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way. It can be fun and joyous and light and extraordinary, even in the darkness, you know, because that's the time when you need that most to be able to hold on and move through.
I agree.
It's beautiful.
I do think Sophia's going a little bit crazy, but I do think that there is joy and fun and play along with curiosity. There's lightness for sure, but we also are very, very good at holding all ranges of emotions and experiences, and we give some tough love at times when it's needed as well, because we're all here to really do the work, and that means showing up in that way. Okay, so we have a question here. Sarah writes, any tips for when you're at the threshold and the fear and stories do pop up? How to stay grounded and firm in your mission?
Well, do you know what, Kayla? The first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is that word mission, right? Because I think that one of the things that stops people at the threshold, yes, it can be the stories, and yes, it can be the fear. But the fact of the matter is that if you're really clear for yourself on what you know is on the other side, whatever it is that you want that to be for you, even if you can't necessarily see it, but you know that you can create it if you step through that threshold, that is actually the thing that's going to pull you through. But that word mission that you've got there, or calling or purpose, so many people aren't clear and don't know what that is. And therefore, when the mud thickens at the threshold point, you're not illuminated and pulled enough to keep going.
Exactly.
Get really clear on that. Yeah.
I find most people think that they know their mission, but their mission is also on the threshold. They have created a mission that is somewhat sweet enough that they think, oh, yeah, sure, this thing. But then when the SHIT hits the fan, they can't actually fulfill it because it's not deep enough. It's not anchored enough. And often our mission needs to be far bigger than we thought it was going to be. It's got to feel a little scary. It's got to feel a little unattainable, but so exciting and so much anchored in deep devotion that you're going to keep going for it. Like, why not? You're just going to keep doing it. There's no choice.
No choice. That's exactly right. That is what a mission, a purpose, a calling. If it's the real one, Kayla,
it's got to be the real one.
If it's the big one, there is nothing that will stop you moving through that threshold. And so if you reach that threshold, and you will, and things start to feel this way, which they will, and the fear and egos and stories come up, the thing that you must hold on to and allow to lovingly pull you through, is that mission and that purpose. And if you reach the threshold and that doesn't happen, you need to rejig your purpose and your mission. And then you have another go. Because eventually, if it is your calling, you'll go, you'll do it. Because you can't not. You can't not. And if any of you are listening to this and you've not had an experience yet of being so pulled and so called to something that you'll do anything to get it. That's still to come for you. Keep looking for it.
Absolutely.
Keep
And
searching for it,
I'd
because
be
it's coming.
curious to see, because you know what? I find that people have had it in different areas. They're just not realizing and recalling that for the area within their business. So whether it's, I decided one day, I woke up and I said, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I have never climbed a mountain before, and I was gonna do it. I don't know why, but it was a mission, and I summited. I spent a year with a backpack in, like, watching Oprah for 2 hours on a treadmill and walking up and down the Upper West Side, all the way up and down, because I was going to get ready. And it's that kind of feeling, whether it's that, or you know that you want to go to college, you're going to make it work. Or you know you're going to have that kid, so that's going to happen. And you do everything and you learn about all the things to get it to work. And so there are these things that happen, and we don't apply that sometimes within our business as entrepreneurs. We get so scared of our power, of what great change we can make. And so I do believe that's the foundation. That's what I think about as, that's what business strategy to me is. That's what a soulful business plan, not a traditional business plan is. It's about knowing.
Very different. Yeah, very, very, it's a very, very different thing. And everything that you say there, Sora, is so true. But you can do it, Kayla, you know, and just know as well that when that fear comes up, when your ego starts to rise, it's all good, because none of those things would be happening if you weren't almost there.
Yes. Absolutely. Great questions. Anyone else have questions? I have a question that was inside the group, and she wanted to know about events, because she's noticed that you create these really beautiful events that are sacred and engaging. What are your thoughts about events? What are we missing right now out there in the world? And what should people remember when it comes to holding a space in an event?
I think the number one thing to remember and hold on to, and this is what I do with any event that I'm holding, whether it be a small sacred circle or an event for lots and lots and lots of people, is how do you want people who come to that event to feel while they are there and as they leave? That may be the same thing. It could be different while they're there and then afterwards when they leave. Anchoring into that is the thing that I believe I do that then really guides me with every level of touch point that happens on those days. How people are greeted, what the room looks like, the music that is played, how many people should be there, not too many, so it becomes overwhelming or people don't feel as though they're being looked after or seen in some way. That is the most important thing, I think, that guides me when I think about events. And if I can say another thing as well, and this is actually something that I'm still working on, and may I tip my hat to you, my love sister, for inspiring me with this and helping me to see that this is an area that I want and would like to do better in with events. And I am better now than what I used to be. And that is to remember that so often the magic of bringing people together is actually not about you. And it's not about what you deliver, and it's not about what you say, and it's not about what you get people to do. Right. It is, in fact, about the connection that they develop with each other simply from being in a space that you have curated. And if you don't allow them enough time to deepen into that connection and cultivate it, not only will you have to work a lot harder than you think you have to work, but you are actually missing some of the magic that can create itself in front of you rather than you needing to drive it.
Yeah. Well put, Jules. Well put.
Yeah, I'm working on this with my events. I'm working on this more. This stems from And hey, this is all part of this work. This stems from a shadow aspect of mine around people pleasing and overgiving.
Right.
Which, deeper to that, and this gives you a little tip, everyone, of how you go on this darker journey, which stems from a fear of not being liked. Which further down stems from a experience in life of abandonment.
Yeah.
Right? And so once I've actually dealt with and continue to deal with the feelings of abandonment and worry about not being liked, which results in people pleasing and stuff like that, can we see how that then impacts what you do as a businesswoman and entrepreneur? And as I've gotten better at this, guess what? My events are better. Yeah. There it is.
Absolutely. And isn't that so joyous to see? Because we often forget that those that were watching or listening have their own process and deep, deep uncoverings that they're working through. And so when you can see the process of, let's say, like Julie and how she goes about it to then come to this place of the next evolution of, let's say, her events, like that's so powerful to witness. And it gives us the opportunity to see how that looks like within. And one of the things that I love about the events that you are sharing is I do believe in knowing what you want your community members to experience when they're there and what you want them to experience or take away when they leave. And when I think about any sort of event, often I see a lot of my clients already thinking about the event that has hundreds of people, right? And I think, yes, you'll get there. But the most important part is whether it's that kind of event or having 5 people in your living room, that the experience of what you are there to hold should actually be the same. How you go about it might be a little different based on the numbers of people and the format. But if there's a particular flavor or resonance of yourself that you're engaging with your community members, that's the thing to anchor into. That's the thing to learn about yourself and what you want from an event. So rather than just saying, I want to do events because everyone's doing events, why do you want to do events? Right?
Absolutely. Why? Because events, when you see the end product of them, unless they're a disaster, and that's just a learning experience in and of itself, they look so glossy, beautiful, fun, fabulous, inspiring, all that sort of stuff. There is so much work. No! There is so much work that goes into these things. And when you have a strong beautifier aspect as a priestess like I do, the sleep that you lose over the flower choices is just like, man,
I've been there. I've been there when I've seen her look for her flowers. I can attest.
The cream roses, the beige roses, oh, the coffee coloured, oh.
Is this the right vase? What if I just change this flower and move it 3 degrees to the left?
You know me too well. I actually think you know me too well. This is bad.
Oh my goodness, so good. All right, well, Jules, thank you so much for all of this time that you have spent with us and your valuable information. And all those that are listening, really enjoy and soak in the information. Replay this over and over again. Know that you're being truly held, and if you are desiring the priestess path, that Julie and I are here to be of utmost service. You have until the end of the month to come join us for the Mistress Mind. It'll be pretty epic. And even if not, we are totally here for you. Anything else you want to share before we close?
Oh, I've loved this chat this morning. The world of the priestess and the sacred businesswoman and just online business and business in general, it's starting to collide in the most divine and magical way. I'm here for it. I know you're here for it.
We've been talking about this.
Yep. Here for this rising collective of women that are stepping into this space. And it's extraordinary. And the thing that makes me most excited about it, Sora, is that the more healed, whole, extraordinary, sacred women business owners we have out there in the world, the more that we shift and change everything for the better. It's our time. We're being called the light is there for us if we choose to step into it. And so I'm so looking forward to walking this path with so many women. And for anyone that's called, we'd love you to join us.
Amazing. More information will be given to you. Do you not worry. All right. Thank you so much, Jules, and everyone who has been here with us. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Julie's pretty darn captivating and filled with loving wisdom, isn't she? Can you feel our love and mutual respect for one another? Because it's so there. What did you take away from this episode? Now, if this interview with Julie lit a fire in your belly, it's time to root into your power and grow your business. I invite you to download this fun action guide that will help you call in more clients. Make sure to place your insights and takeaways in the comments below, and then head over to the Sacred Business Collective and join spiritual women leaders, coaches, healers, and wildly successful entrepreneurs from all over the world. If you enjoyed this video, watch the episode How to Create a 1-Minute Elevator Pitch, or How to Plan 12 Months of Content in Simply 30 Minutes. And if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss another episode of Sora TV. See you later.